Greetings and welcome. We are in day 3 of our time together. This is Monday, August 26th. And I want to kind of clarify some deadline work with you just to make sure that you understand what actually is the deadline of Friday, August 30th. You have in front of you the updated sheet for the checkoff. The old one you should have already put in the recycle bin. The new one now with blue or black ink, first I need your name at the top of that one. After you have circled the word updated in red ink. In blue or black ink, I need your name. Then in red ink, I need the name of your grader. The person who is going to check off on Friday out of this class is going to check off your information. That will be done in red ink. All right, that will be done in red ink. Okay? Okay? Now, what I want to do with you right now, and you need a blue or black ink to do this with me. You're going to be when you're writing on this document, you're writing blue or black ink. And we're going to go through this thing real quickly, and I'm going to clarify. I've removed some things from the original list, okay? And I've kind of tweaked and added a few things, so I want to make sure that we're all good to go with it. All right? When you look at that list, the first part of that list are nothing but your supplies. Fairly self-explanatory, okay? You will have dividers in certain orders. You will have your memory stick, etc., etc. All right? The water bottle is in many ways kind of an option, but for sure make sure it's capped, okay? For sure, a backpack is required. We want to make sure by Friday that you have that backpack or some kind of satchel with you so that way you can carry your materials. Do you have any questions about any of the supply side of things? I took out that required dictionary. I'm not sure that that's really important. We all have handheld devices and the like. However, if you already have a dictionary, nothing wrong with leaving it in your bag. It can serve you to help you, actually. Now, the second part is where we're really going to spend a few minutes now. I want to pay attention to that. The second part involves, first of all, 5 parts. Do you see it? So when we're talking about the master schedule now, to make it easier for us to talk about it, I've now just named it as 5 different parts, all right, for this sheet. Part 1, and I want to work through each one of these, and I recommend that you maybe are taking notes while you go. By the way, look through your supplies real quickly and check off everything you've already done. So for example, if you've already covered your textbook, check that off. If you've already got your pens, check that off, etc. Go ahead and do that real quickly. All right, now let's go. Yeah, if there is a class novel, in Senior English A, I don't know that that we have a lot of that. Okay, let's go through it now. Part 1. Part 1 is fairly simple. You're going to take the deadlines from your course outline, and you're going to write them into your day planner for the day that they're due. Very simple. That's all you got to do. For those of you who have done that for the entire semester, check that one off. Hurrah, way to go. Some of us are going to say our day planner itself is open right now, and some of us are going to start writing stuff down and starting to make a to-do list, okay? Now, as you do this project, and I received a couple of outstanding emails this weekend that said, Mr. McGee, I was actually doing this project, and while I was doing this project, I discovered some typos and some problems. You're asking us to go to a page where it's a little bit uncertain or whatever. What I would say is, if you can kind of figure out what the typo is by virtue of the number of the pages, then just make your adjustments right away. On the other hand, if you can't figure out what's going on, I would say for that part of part 1, just kind of leave it blank. And as we get closer to that time, I'll be sure and make the adjustments, okay? Again, we're working with brand new textbooks, and so it's very possible, I think I already showed you that we had some typos already on this course outline. Not a concern. We'll work through it. I think for the most part, though, that the course outline does explain primarily what our reading texts are, and that's part one. I want you to kind of be aware of it. What some of you did was to just sit down and just literally write down everything off the course outline. But what others of you did, and I can tell because of the emails I received, is that you literally had your book in front of you, and while you were writing it down, you were just flipping the pages, and it gave you an indication of how much actual reading we're talking about. Because, for example, I can give a range of 7 pages, but 2 of those pages are setup pages, 2 of those pages are question pages, which means in the end you're actually only reading 3 pages of a text. So instead of a 7-page text when you write down a range of numbers, actually it's only a sometimes 2 or even 3-page reading. And then because they have pictures and everything, when you start looking at it, it's actually not a very long reading at all. Others of you will identify, actually it's just a bunch of poems. 14-line sonnets. So instead of having 8 pages of intense reading, it's actually only like 3 or 4 sonnets, which reduces in some ways, reduces the amount of read time. In other ways, it may actually amplify it. You may find it more difficult to read a sonnet and understand it, a 14-line poem, than to read a whole short story of 5 pages. See, that's possible. It depends on your reading background, right? Part 2. Part 2 is an attempt for you to reconfigure the course outline and understand the workload. That's what part 2 is. And the way it works is simply this. You begin with headings. Okay? Headings. Now, some of the headings listed here won't work for you. When you look at the course outline, for example, if you don't see any vocabulary or grammar stuff, and notice here I've identified it as a 10-10 offering only now. If you don't see that, then you just don't have to worry about that. Okay? And what you do is you create a heading, and then you just simply list the work that's there by what the assignment is and when it's due. Okay? And the argument here is, before you begin a course, you want to know what you're being asked to do. If you're seniors listening to me right now, you probably know 1 or 2 guys who were seniors last year who graduated and then went on to college. The first thing they did when they showed up at their 4 or 5 classes at college or university is to receive, guess what, a course outline. They all did it. Even if they were taking a PE class called Introduction to Badminton, the prof is required to give a course outline. And guess what? You will have bought a book, probably more than one. You will have bought a book for that class. And guess what? You will be tested from that book. I promise you, this is the way the university works. Because you get those course outlines, your colleagues, many of them sitting in this very room 12 months ago, are right now today sitting in a library where there's a large table, kind of like the one you're sitting at now, only they're by themselves. And they've taken all their course outlines for their classes and they laid them out. And they've got a day planner out. And guess what they're doing? They're constructing a Part 1, Part 2 master schedule. Guess why they're doing that? They need to know in advance, where is the heavy workload of the semester going to hit me? So, for example, most courses will have 2 or 3 weeks of an introduction and then the first exam. So guess what? All of your college classes will seem to kind of bubble around certain kinds of dates. When a major exam comes due, major papers come due, major projects come due. The university has to report midterms just like you guys. Remember on the very first day, on the day 1 packet, I think it was like part number 2, I told you when the midterm was, when progress reports and parent-teacher conversations were. Why did I say that? Because we can, you know this already, you're seniors. If you know this already, it's because you're seniors. Because you can predict all that major work's going to come 1 week before parent-teacher conferences. How come? Because that's when report cards come in. That means you're going to have all kinds of exams and everything's got to be due that. What happens then is it allows you to kind of predict the workload that's coming so that you can know what weeks are going to be my most labor-intensive weeks. Now, as seniors, you have an advantage because you already know what homecoming week and the insanity of homecoming week means. See, our poor little freshmen, they got no clue what that means. And so for you, you have that one in your day planner so that you're getting the workload done in advance. What is the ideal? What is the optimum situation for homecoming week? To go into that week with having no homework. Of course, freshmen don't have a clue like that. And so that week, they just don't get any homework done, which is why if you want to go back statistically and look where most of us started to have our problems in freshman math, it was the 2nd and the 3rd week after homecoming. Why? Because we didn't get homework done that week. And then we fell behind. But the instructor kept going, right? Because the instructor didn't have to build stupid floats at night. So the instructor kept going. Only you were building stupid floats at night and not getting the homework. See how that works? So you want to pay attention to see what reading and writing is coming. An easy way to do that is divide your course outline up into headings. How much reading do we have and when does it fall? Some of you will divide that even up even more into the weeks as I've given it to you under course outline. You don't have to do it that way. Some of you will. Here is an inside hit. To do part 2, I recommend you go to Learn Strong. I recommend that you download the digital file that is your course outline. I recommend once you have that file downloaded, save it as part 2. Then simply construct your little headings and then cut and paste the information and get rid of everything that doesn't fit within your grid. That way you're not sitting there typing all that stuff up, right? One of the advantages of having a digitized kind of bit of technology, Mr. McGee, where was this observation for last weekend? Right. The thought occurred to me that one or two of us maybe wouldn't think about how to use that digitized intel, and so I decided I would share that with you today. The advantage of this kind of work as well is that in the master schedule section of your notebook, you're going to have that as your first notebook section. You're going to leave this document. And what you'll do, I promise you as seniors, you'll do this. You will mark off every time you get that work done. Of course, as you mark off stuff, you're getting closer to the end of this first semester, which means you're getting closer to the end of the second semester, which means you're getting closer to the beginning of June 1, 2014, which for all of us is the emancipation date, or so we believe. We'll come back and have conversations after that date as to how emancipated you truly feel, because then you only have 100 days left before you get kicked out on the street. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you about that. You just didn't include some Correct. Fine. I'll do it. All right. Any questions about part 2? By the way, I've got it on the whiteboard as well. Since we're mentioning Learn Strong, posted now on Learn Strong are now 4 ways that you can pick up plus points on your test sheet if you're so inclined. Right? So there you go. I've also put up there that cut and paste information. You have to download the file, Mr. Viles is telling me. You have to download the file. Then you're able to cut and paste this, do whatever you want to. Save it as a file of your own, and then you can always do whatever you manipulate it in any way that you want to. Okay? And then finally, day 1, day 2 information is also at the bottom of that page. I'll be posting this lecture as day 3, Introduction to Master Schedule. So if anything I've gone over, you're like, what did he say? I can't remember exactly. Just hit it, go fast forward through it, find where I said it, and you're fine. Of course, if for some reason you're absent, it's a great advantage to be able to just look at the information. Part 3, the rules sheet side. Let's say you've already got it done. Hurrah! You can put it in your Omega file and just leave it there. Or you can leave it in the master schedule section of your notebook, turn it in to me on Friday. Either way is fine. Before I get to part 4, I want to ask this question though. Mr. McGee, I ain't going to be here on Friday. Raise your hand if you are in that camp. You ain't going to be here on Friday. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're not going to be here on Friday, you either will check off this information with your grader before you leave and leave it in your Omega file up in a grade bed, or if you're not going to be on Thursday either, then you just bring it with you on Monday and we'll score it up on return. I'm sorry, it won't be Monday, it will be what? Tuesday, won't it? Because we'll have the holiday. That's right, we'll have the holiday, right? Okay. It's a question? Yes. No. If you're emancipated, you don't got to worry about it. By the way, put a note to me about that, though. All right, here we go. Part 4. Now, this one, Mr. McGee, I need to understand and clarification on. Typed goals, part 4. Typed goals, you may want to get ready to take a few notes. And again, as we go through this, if you don't have any of this done, you're definitely writing that down in your day planner as to do. You're making your own to-do list, right? The goal here is, let's get organized for sure this week. Once we're organized, we kind of know how to get through the workload. If you don't get organized, it can be kind of a problem. And as we've often said out of 303, the question is never, do I have homework in this class? That will never be a question for you, ever, ever. You always know you've got homework. The question is, when am I getting it done? Right? And if we're smart, we can get a lot of it done on the weekends, huh? We can use our time wisely. All right, let's talk about it. Part 4 is the typed goals. Here we are simply working with 3 headings. Okay? So you just create 3 headings: reading, writing, organization. So you got 3 headings all on one sheet of paper. Got me? So the first heading, at the very top, it will be goals. You'll put your name there for fall 2013, right? So you type this thing up. And then it will simply be there for you, the first heading, reading. And then you're going to bullet point 3 things you want to concentrate on to improve in your reading. It might be reading speed. It might be reading comprehension. It might be vocabulary improvement. It might be taking better annotation notes and learning the annotative process. It might be that you know you've got to retake or take an ACT, and that means improving in the section of reading. Whatever it is for us, we are going to try to put that. And you just bullet point 3. You don't have to write full sentences or any of that. The argument is, at the midpoint of our semester and then at the midpoint of our school year, we'll go back and look at these goals. And we'll ask in the area of reading, am I actually improving? Am I getting better? Okay? One of those goals can, by the way, be to perform well on the actual exams, because so much of the exams constitute the reading of our class, huh? 2, writing. Here, same gig. What do you want to do to try to improve your writing? For some of us, it's going to be the whole issue of pre-writing, learning how to do a better outlining. For others of us, it's going to be starting earlier. We found in 3 years of high school that we procrastinate way too much. And we're up the night before a passage is due to hand in. And that's a problem for us because we cannot always do the best work, okay? For others of us, it's simply going to be getting, an improved vocabulary, improving in our work of editing, of revising. We will have, and it's there for you, put a note to yourself, we will have, and some of you will put this as a goal, we will have on LearnStrong, right there on the home page, the requirement that all papers will go through PaperRater before they ever are submitted to me. Now, PaperRater and the site itself is right there on LearnStrong at the bottom of the home page, where it says, I think, attention all students or whatever. Part of PaperRater is that you must use the plagiarism component. You must use it. You will actually print evidence that you've gone through PaperRater. You will use PaperRater as a way to help you edit as well. All right? Finally, organization. To me, this is the most important part of success, not only in 303, but in your university college experience. I've sent some really, really bright kids to college who failed. They didn't fail because they were stupid. They failed because they didn't get organized. They waited until too late to get materials started, and there was just too much to do the night before. Our goal, and this may be a concrete goal for your organization, our goal is to not be working the night before work is due to get it done. That's our goal. Our goal, another way to say this is, we want to give ourselves a 2-day comfort zone or a pillow or whatever you want to think about it. 2 days. We want to work to try to have 2 days before an assignment is due. In other words, we're always looking ahead. So if a read-write packet is due on a Wednesday, we actually want to try and have most of that packet done, if not in toto, at least in the abstract, done by Monday, which will then allow us on Tuesday to finish with whatever editing work we got to do, and that way we're ready to go on Wednesday. Some of you will try and hold fast to the rule that the day before anything is due, I'm going to just have it done. So if a read-write packet is due on a Wednesday, for me, it will be in my Omega file on Tuesday, and I don't have to mess with it. Now, you'll never hand it in early to me, because my read rotation through the Great Bend requires that I take your papers the day I'm assigning them to you, because I have other classes. But you can give yourself your own assignment to get it done early. And there's a great advantage to having that done that way, because you can take care of some of the technology challenges that come your way. In terms of organization, another key goal is the use of the day planner or the master schedule. We want to find ourselves sitting down at night, and the first thing we look at is our day planner, and we want to try to make a to-do list of work. Beginning with the most challenging work first, not saving that work until later. If for you, a math class you're in now is going to be your most challenging work, That's what you want to begin with when you have your best energies. But I'm going to recommend that you learn to study in bursts. What does that mean? When you sit down to do homework, you're going to have to really concentrate on focusing, conquering what we call monkey mind, that inability to really concentrate. We maybe will put a goal to ourselves that will say something like this: I will study in 15-minute bursts, no more than that. During that 15-minute, my phone is turned off, silent. So I cannot hear the vibration of a text coming in. I cannot see the screen. It will literally be put away, out of sight. It cannot distract me for 15 minutes. But the minute 15 minutes is up, I'm done with that segment of my homework. I literally get up. I move somewhere. I check my phone. I answer any texts then. I answer any calls then. I promise you, if you as seniors learn to discipline yourself like this, your homework will get done much faster. Why? Because you're concentrating and focused on one activity at a time. There's so much research we've done on this, that when we leave our phone on the desktop and we are reading at the same time, even though we don't receive a text, our concentration is not as good. We have all kinds of research to prove this. Because while I'm reading, I wonder if the text is good. I wonder if how they're going to respond. I hope. And then all of a sudden, 15 minutes are up. We haven't done anything. But we've worried about this thing. If you know at the end of 15 minutes you can look at your texts, you can look at your phone, you have a way to say, it's there. I'm not going to worry about it. And if somebody says, dude, why didn't you respond to me right away? You can say, I was studying and my 15 minutes or my 10 minutes were not up. Now, for some of you, 15 minutes is too long. You're going to have to go with 10. And then you get up and you walk around. Your mom will say, I thought you were doing homework. I am doing homework. But I'm just taking a little bit of a break. Some athletes, for example, will sit and they'll do some push-ups, sit-ups, or whatever, and then they'll go right back to it again. Get the blood pumping. That way they don't sit there and do one of these and nodding off while they're trying to read. Another organizational topic. You might write this one down. We're going to, for some of us, establish or create a study zone. A study zone where we will do our homework, where there's some rules. We're going to try and find a place that's quiet. So the middle of the house with the TV blaring is not the place to do your homework. You've got to find a quiet place in your house. I've had students that say, you don't understand the home I live in. There is no quiet space. To which I have responded, try to have a conversation with the people who are responsible for you and you're responsible to them. And explain to them, can I at least have a half an hour we carve out in the evenings where in my room at least it's quiet, where stuff's kind of turned down, people have phones in their ears instead of listening to stuff really loud, so that I can at least concentrate and focus. Okay? Good lighting is another really important part of it. We know our eyes fatigue in the evening, and as they fatigue, we do not focus as well. As we get tired, we want to sleep, which is why we will never do homework on the bed. Never. The bed is good for one, all right, maybe two things, and that's all. And studying is not one of those things. So we don't do our homework on our bed. Our bed is one step away from shutting our eyes and going to sleep, and guess what? The project doesn't get done. You need a good place to be working, a good study desk, a good seat, good lighting, and then finally, some of you will write this down and you'll take my word on it, you'll try it. You're not going to listen to music while you do your homework. Dude, you don't understand. I can do my math much better when I'm listening to Metallica. The truth of the matter is, no, you can't. And here's why. While you're working to try and do math, and you're listening to music that has lyrics, your brain is attending to those lyrics, whether you know it or not. Guess what? You don't know that you're doing it. But your brain is doing it. It's doing that work, which is why if that music is not on, your brain can concentrate for the 15 minutes that you're studying. A powerful suggestion. I highly recommend it too. Do you have any questions for me about type goals? And again, you'll just bring these with you on Friday. You'll have these things ready to go for you. Finally, number 5, your student survey. Get it out real quickly and look at it. It was attached to the last page of your course outline. You tore it out. Some of you put it in your Omega file. Others of you put it in your 3-ring notebook. At the top of that student survey, you should already have your name. Mr. McGee, I lost my student survey. On page 1, at the home page of LearnStrong, is the Day 1 packet. It's either on page 1 or it might have, Mr. Viles might have moved it into the week 1 folder. Either way, there is a digitized format of all of the packet that I gave to you on the Day 1. So, If you lost your, the survey sheet or whatever, we can be sure and get you another one, all right? It's right there at the end of the course outline or whatever. We can help you to find it. If you can't find it, let me know and we'll be sure and help you. Now, the questions that are being asked for you on the student survey are very critical for two reasons, especially because you're seniors. One, I need to know this information to help you. Two, you need to know this information to fill out college applications. Most of you, I know it's strange that I'm in day 3 of our semester and I'm already talking about college apps. Most of you will decide to use your Hathaway and go to school in the state of Wyoming. That means you've got to go through a process. Step 1, most of you have done it already, taken an ACT and gotten the score that you wanted. Or you will retake ACT, which is why I've got that question there. Step 2, you actually have to physically fill out a form, an application form to the college or colleges you might attend. Filling out that form does not mean you have to go. Not at all. Filling out that form means that you are accepted to the school. So you fill out the form for Northwest or for Sheridan or for Riverton or for the University of Wyoming. Most of that work is done online. Got me? When you go online to fill it out, guess what? They're going to ask you some questions that are like the questions on this survey. They're going to ask you what your class rank is. They're going to ask you what your GPA is. Having it written down will help you. All right? As you get ready to fill out those forms, we can have more conversation. The process for most of you will be right up until roughly the 1st of April. Okay? There's one other step for you as seniors, and it's called filling out the FAFSA form, which is the financial aid form, but you can't do that without two things. You can't do that without your parents' help, because they're the ones that fill out income tax on you, on your family, and that normally does not happen until January of next year. So in 2014 January, you'll be filling out the FAFSA form, you'll be applying to schools, you will hear back from those schools whether you've been accepted. You'll also hear back from those schools about the financial package, whether you're going to get your Hathaway, how much money additionally you'll have to pay. Some of you will be looking for scholarships of other kinds. Mr. McGee, I heard last year lots of students got lots of money on senior night for scholarships. How did they land all that money? Early on, Mr. Dewar will be posting information about local scholarships. You will want to start to pay attention to those. And then around the month of February, everything kind of starts getting ratcheted up to fill those out and to submit those. And a lot of times, they're not really very competitive. In other words, there's only like 2 or 3 people that even apply for some of those scholarships, and then the money's come. Some of you will say, it's only like sometimes $200. What can $200 buy me? Well, a book. It can give you one book, which is, one book that you don't have to pay for. Got me? So it's something to pay attention to. Finally, at the bottom of this page, we will list on Friday what's missing. Now, after Friday, unless you kind of talk to me and we've worked through it, if you miss this deadline, the highest score you'll get on your master schedule will be a 60. Remember our rule. Look at your Omega record sheet real quickly. Omega record sheet. It's what's stapled in your Omega file. Do you see the exam there? The very first line under exam should say capital M, capital S for master schedule. That will be our first grade in the grade book. Got me? If on Friday you do not hand that in to me, it will score at 0. When you do hand it in to me late, it will bump to 60. You got me? If you get everything done by Friday, you can be guaranteed of a 100 points in the grade book. Suggestion, get the 100 points. In our class, those kinds of easy giveaway grades will help you as we get closer to the grading periods of the midterm and the end of the semester. So if I give you an opportunity for an easy 100 points, I say easy, granted, you got to do a little bit of work, but I recommend that you try and get it all done. Okay? Now, do you have any questions for me about that?